Some losses take a day to get over, maybe a week. Some take a year, maybe even longer. I think that's how long I'm going to need to get over this absolutely disgusting and disappointing performance that the Utah Utes put out. Sure, it was close, but the reasons they lost this game is going to be a lot of long and sleepless nights for several people, myself included, probably.
You are locked on. You are Locked On Utes, your daily podcast on the Utah Utes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Oh, hello, everyone. Thank you for making Locked On Utes your first listen and view of the day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. I am an absolutely devastated JT Wistersill, and I appreciate all of you for joining me. Most Utah fans in your misery, and I'm sure a couple BYU fans as well. The Utah Utes just lost a football game, and I'm really not trying to be a prisoner of the moment. It's one of the most disappointing and deflated I've ever felt like after watching a game. The reasons that this is a loss for Utah is so vast and disappointing and just such a letdown. There were so many opportunities for Utah to win this game. Credit BYU for finding ways to win this game. BYU wins it 24-21. Utah got that late touchdown, and honestly, they should have had more points earlier, right? But hey, you got the late touchdown. You can't get the side kick. We're going to take all of your guys' questions in a moment. But if you are sitting in here and you were to ask me, as I'm sure someone probably has at this point, or just had your own reasons, right? What's the reason that Utah lost this game? And I would actually tell you it falls on one person, and it's the person who wanted to win this game more than anything. It's Kyle Whittingham. Kyle Whittingham, that call to go for it on 4th and 7. 4th and 3 was abysmal too. The decision to go for it on 4th and 7, absolutely ridiculous, asinine, and the type of decision that is only made when emotion gets in a way. There are other people and coaches in there who should have said, hey, come on, let's think logically here. Like long term, there's so much game left to be played. It's 4th and 7, and our passing game is not good, and we're going to go for it. It's just a bad call. It's a terrible call, and it reminds me of the type of calls like last year Ohio State lost to Michigan because Ryan Day wanted to out-physical Michigan. For Utah, it wasn't trying to out-physical BYU. They tried to at different points, right? But they just wanted to beat BYU, and they just let that fact blind them more than just like, hey, long-term, let's figure out the game is a war, not a battle, each drive being a battle, right? Like Utah was so focused on we need to touchdown right here at so many points it cost them. The play of this game was made in the first quarter. The tackle by Maury Bamba on Daniel Bray, and yes, Larry Simmons should have blocked Bamba, was the difference tonight. I really genuinely believe that. The play of this game, I believe, was made in the first quarter because that would have been a touchdown. I thought for sure Utah had it. No one could stop Bray for most of the night, but they did right there. So that decision to me more than anything, Kyle Whittingham's decision. And I'll just also say this, I'll couple it with another reason I put this loss on Whittingham more than anyone else. The Utah Utes absolutely got outcoached this evening. The amount of penalties that this team had were ridiculous. And when you have that many penalties, that absolutely falls on the coaching. Where there's some bad calls made, absolutely, but that is far from, that is like not even close to the main reasons that Utah lost this game. Just so many bad penalties in this game. It was absolutely disgusting, the amount of self-inflicted mistakes. How about the muff punt before the half? When Utah had all that momentum, you go and muff the punt. Inexcusable. Absolutely cannot happen in a situation of that magnitude. The moment, the amount of holding, the amount of, unnecessary roughness. How about the game was, you're trying to drive late. You're down by 10 points anyways. How about the 12 men on the field late? Like that's the point where you're just getting out coached. And like I mentioned, there were some bad calls, but Utah got out coached in this game. The downfield passing attack continues to be abysmal, except for in garbage time. Not garbage time. That's not totally fair because you got an onside kick, still a chance to win it. But outside of just like throw it up there, like the downfield passing attack is not good. Credit BYU for really stifling Utah's rushing attack. And, credit BYU as well for being physical with Devin Dampier. I wonder if Devin Dampier, they talked about him having that ankle wrapped up a little more. He wasn't moving the same in the second half. I'm not saying that, he was hurt and that's the reason Utah lost this game. I'm just saying that that's part of it. The reason Utah lost this game to me is the main reason being Kyle Whittingham's decision-making and how overly aggressive he was trying to be rather than thinking more logically. So we're going to take your guys' questions here, but I'll also just say this really quick before we dive in. I got to give a ton of credit to Bear Bachmeyer. I know he's only 13 for 22, 166 yards, made some huge throws. The touchdown run he had late will be an iconic moment in this rivalry, and he was the better quarterback on the field for the majority of the night. So I give him credit for that too. Devin Dampier just missed some plays, made some bad throws. The reason the passing attack is not working is all the above. It's the only, except for the offensive line. They give so much time, which is what's so sad. Like most teams' passing attack isn't good because their offensive line can't hold up. Ours holds up, but our quarterback will miss reads and miss throws. Our wide receivers can't get open. And also the scheme for the passing attack in particular is not very good. So it's literally a mixture of all of those things that devastate you. The defense battled their butts off. You know when else Utah really lost this game? When Teo Johnson had a sack on Bear Bachmeier. Bear got out of the sack, and Lander Barton was called for targeting. And then there were a few other plays throughout the game in that fourth quarter where Leavani Demouni, I love him. He's a really good player, made a lot of good plays for Utah, but he struggled tonight. He had opportunities to make tackles, make plays, and he couldn't do it. And those are the type of plays and moments that I do believe Lander would have stepped up. How about more missed tackles too? Just so disappointing. The missed tackles, the lack of discipline for some of the dumb penalties this team had as well too. Just so disappointing how Utah got to this outcome. So many chances to win this game. You do all the fourth downs, right? You don't convert on, and the decision not to kick those 2 field goals, which would have loomed so large late. Now, obviously you can't just say like, oh, Utah kicks 2 field goals there, they automatically win the game. The outcome would have been different, but you put yourself in a lot better chance. And obviously those 2 field goals after you score that late touchdown would have, if we just say you make those 2 field goals, the game plays out the same way. You can't do that, but you know what I mean. The game would have been different. And instead you get no points on 3 trips into the red zone. This amazingly efficient red zone offense came up empty in so many massive points. I mean, it says this right there, 6 points left on the field, but from the eye patch, tough loss. That's what stinks is you had the opportunities. And once again, like why in the world are we going for it on 4th and 7? This game was there to be had in so many ways tonight. The defense battled their butts off, and Utah beat themselves repeatedly, whether it be the penalties, whether it's the decision not to take points and try to chase touchdowns even when you shouldn't. For running it on 4th and 3, that's a long way to go for a run play, especially when they know you're going to run and get it. Also, I thought Devin Dampier should have followed Tongai to the outside. At least that's how I interpret it. I'd be interested to hear Coach Whitt's and the players' thoughts on that. Is Tongai supposed to block up the middle? Looked like he was pulling, and he went to the outside. Instead, Dampier ran up to the inside where he didn't have. If he followed his lead blocker, he gets that first down too. So that's where it's just so many frustrating things and ways that Utah managed to lose this game. And as I said, we're going to get to your guys' questions in a moment. We'll also keep an eye coming up for the press conference, but credit BYU, their defense for limiting the Utah rushing attack. It's a dominant Utah run game. It has been on the season, Utah outgained BYU. Let's see, how much did they outgain them by? 470 to 368. You outgained them 100 yards. BYU was 3 for 12 on 3rd down. Granted, you were only 5 for 12, but how about the 12 penalties for 77 yards? It just stinks. You got pressure at times too. Your run game in the second half just wasn't there. It's just the amount of ways that Utah figured out how to lose this game is honestly what, like I said, will cause me to be absolutely sick about this one. I will give BYU the flowers. They found this way to win, but this game was absolutely there at several points and moments for Utah to take, and they weren't able to do it. So we're going to come back in one moment and talk about how we got to this results in one moment, because man, was it a disappointing results. But first, today's show is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who want to go further. And tonight that was BYU. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IHS top safety picks than awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic scents to available Napple leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls with all-wheel drive standard in every SUV crossover. You can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved with Mazda. All right, question time. We're taking your questions. Comment and send them in. We already have a ton pouring in. I'm going to do my best to get to all of yours, but I don't think any of us want to be on here for 4 hours either. So I'll do my best to reach all of them. The eye patch said Coach Whittingham has absolutely zero faith in his kicker. Yes, he did. And he should have put Dylan Curtis out there. That was a 38-yarder, I believe, 38-yarder. I'm like 90% sure it would have been the one that big 4th down one that Utah just decided not to kick. They absolutely need to kick that one. Then that 4th and 3 as well, too. I think it's a combination of Whitt not having confidence in his kicker and also just the touchdowns are going to win this game. We need touchdowns. But no, you needed points. If this was against, you can't tell me I'm wrong on this one. I'll admit when I'm wrong all the time. I've had to eat a lot of crow this week, obviously, and I'm going to have to continue to do so for the things I said. You can't tell me on 4th and 7, if it's anyone but BYU, Utah doesn't kick that field goal. It's absolutely a BYU thing. It's I got to beat BYU. I need to get a touchdown here. I got to punch it in. That's what cost Utah. Is that mentality in this game, not thinking with their football brains, but instead, like, I think Urban Meyer said, like, he's seen Kyle's eyes change when it comes to this game, and Kyle's eyes changing is just a fire and just like, no, we need this. I want this. His greed in some ways on those drives to want touchdowns instead of go, no, we need a field goal here. Cost Utah this result. That is the number one reason to me that Utah lost this game. And like I said, I already said, Bamba made the play of the game to me. Harry NG said, this one is on Whitt. I absolutely agree. 1000%. Isaac Ellsworth, so many missed calls. Yes, there were. This game was not lost because of the officials. This game was lost because of missed tackles, because of bad penalties, because of bad decisions on offense, because of the downfield passing attack. You get to all of those, but eventually you do get to bad calls because there were some bad calls in this game. The amount of missed holding calls that John Henry Daly didn't get, disgusting. And also too, like I said, though, like Utah wasn't playing discipline, but I was also just, there were so many holding calls and some of the other calls were just, like I said, there's so many bad calls in this game. It's not why Utah lost the game, but there were bad calls in this game, and it was very frustrating indeed. 801 West Valley, give Bears respect. I already did that. I said he was fantastic tonight. His stat line was not great, but he delivered in some big moments, some timely throws. He really stepped up. He ran it. His touchdown run was incredible, even though the Utah tackling made me want to pull out the few hair follicles I have left on my head. And yeah, so get Bear stepped up. That's not a true freshman. The way he has played and matured, I got to give him a ton of credit tonight. Freshman QB was the better QB today. Yes, he was. Heisman Dampier. Yeah, not anymore. 801 West Valley. Not anymore. BYU's bad against Arizona and then suddenly good against Utah. That's a rivalry game, Isaac Ellsworth, I'd say. Like rivalry games, you throw out the record, right? We saw West Virginia beat Pitt and West Virginia isn't having a great year. We see this all the time. And like BYU is a very good team, right, too? But you get up for a rivalry more. It's different. So that doesn't surprise me at all. Could have been Isaac Wilson. Gosh, I can't imagine what the score would have been had Isaac Wilson been there tonight. How about Bird coming in and playing some nice moments? Oh my gosh, that's the other thing that really hurt Utah. How about the weird play where they motioned 2 offensive linemen out, and then I forgot my guy's name, but that big tight end, like my thick guy, I forgot his name, but he's thick. He's like 5'11", 290 or whatever it was. Like when they motioned him out, that was what eventually like set up the 4th and 7. You were driving the ball down the field. The run game was working. And then the broken play and you throw it to him and you lose like 7 yards, just negative plays like that. Absolutely devastating. Whittingham had no business arguing against that targeting. It was blatant. That's the thing. It's tough. This is where I get frustrated with the rule. It is targeting by the letter of the law. But if he's not trying to hit him illegally, there's nothing dirty about that hit. He was just he should have gone lower and tackled him, but there was nothing dirty about that hit. I think that's where that one hurts so much. But yeah, you're going to argue it because it's the emotions of the game, right? Like Kalani Sitake was mad about a pass interference when the DB had JJ Buchanan's like entire jersey like held, which John Henry Daly's jersey is going to be like so droopy from the amount of times he was held in this game. Absolutely ridiculous. The call by Whitt not wanting to kick the field goal that could have put us into overtime. Yep, that'll be a big one too. Dampier looked like dew. I don't agree with that completely. He had some rough moments, right? 20 for 36 overall, 15 carries for 64 yards, 2 touchdowns, threw up the interception. The unfortunate thing about his interception was he threw it up there. And I was like, wait a minute, that's 13. That's Daniel Bray. Like Daniel Bray is not going to get that ball, but it's hard to think about that in the heat of the moment. So that one just hurts though. But yeah, he had some rough moments tonight. Dampier did too, and he shares part of the blame of this loss as almost everyone else does. Even Spencer Fauner, right, got cooked late on the spin move from Akana. So there's different levels of loss that everyone gets, and Dampier did not have his best performance tonight. I don't think he was bad, I'll say, but I thought he was just okay. I'll say that. Like Dampier was just okay to me. Made some great plays, made some not so great plays. Those field goals, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Yeah, it definitely is, Paul. That's Paula. That's absolutely it is. BYU would have kicked a field goal if the game had been 3 points. That's what I mean. Like that's the would have, like this happened, would have that happened. But those field goals early, it just would have changed the momentum. You got points on the board. Also, the muff punt. Utah had all that momentum, 3 timeouts left, and then BYU gets a field goal out of that. That muff punt was so devastating. And this type of mistake that Utah just doesn't make. And that's where I just go back to the emotions of this rivalry. Being at BYU, give the Cougars credit. It was a great atmosphere for them. And give them credit for finding a way to win this one, man, because there's a lot of ways that Utah was the better. There were a lot of stretches tonight where Utah was the better team on the field, but they didn't execute in the red zone. And BYU stuck with the ground game. Martin had to grind out some very tough yards in this one. Utah did not make it easy on him. 26 carries, 122 yards, 4.7 yards per carry. Utah made it hard on him, but he found a way. Let's see what else we lost. We lose, and the Texas Tech loss sucks. Yeah, I mean, it's college football. Losses are going to happen. Does like Miami and Tech, are they now terrible for losing this weekend? No, they lost to good teams. Like Arizona State was a good team. They're different with ASU. They're different with ASU back. Like, yeah, Utah is not going to the college football playoff unless they win out. BYU has to have obviously stumble some more, but Utah's Big 12 title hopes are on life support. Obviously, you need a lot of things to go that way. Isaac Ellsworth, they targeted Devin Dampier, got no calls against them, but when Lander Barton hits Bear Bachmeier with his shoulder, he gets kicked out of the game. I'm trying to remember a distinct targeting on Dampier. It's not standing out on the top of my head, but there were some plays where it's like Wayshawn Parker gets shoved. I thought there were definitely areas where there absolutely could have been more calls against the Cougars. And like I've said several times now, the refs did not cost Utah this game. But I'm not going to sit here and also say they were good. I thought there were several bad calls made. Speaking of bad, Teo Johnson sucks at tackling. Unfortunately, he does. He on the long Bear run, that was his tackle to make. He couldn't bring him down. He had the Bear sack that eventually led to Lander getting out for targeting. Couldn't bring him down. Tom Hastings, Utah, good luck becoming bowl eligible. They need one more. By that logic, isn't BYU not good? If you're going to say Utah hung right there with BYU, and then they're one win away. They've blown everyone else out. And now you're saying they won't become bowl eligible. You're basically saying BYU sucks, if that's your takeaway there. But yeah, Teo Johnson, the tackling thing is massive. Tanu Vasa and Fano hugging, one of the great moments in the state sports, represents a lot. I do love the respect that these guys have for one another, right? The passion, it hurts right now, but also like Utah really could have used Keanu Tanu Vasa at key stretches tonight. This is the game, and this is the moment where all offseason I talked about the defensive tackles coming into tonight, and Utah could have used some. They could use some veteran defensive tackles in there. Jonah Laia, love him. He got blown off the ball on several points. If you go back and watch some of the biggest runs in the game, Laia will get like tossed down the field 3 yards. He's a good player, but he is on as a run stuffing defensive tackle, not it, pal. So that really hurt. Keanu Tanavasa, Samote Pepa would have been, like I said, just such a disappointment that you don't have those guys in there because it would have been massive. Scott Frank, time to retire Whit. Yeah, in some ways it might be. I don't think I'm there yet, and he can come out another year if he wanted to, but he's got to coach better here. Garrett Peters, you're an absolute idiot if you think the Utah Utes were going to blow out the Y. Well, they had definitely had their chances early. Like, I don't feel like I was stupid considering they had a lot of those red zone trips early and could have done it. I never thought they were going to blow them out. I said 27-20, pretty easily could have gotten there tonight based on how several things played out. Let's see. I told you guys what would happen. I'm not saying the full thing, but yeah, I mean, you said we get dominated, blown out. Like that definitely did not happen either. We gave the game to them. If you ask me, I agree, David. If you were to ask me, did BYU win this game more or did Utah lose this game more? In my opinion, Utah lost this game more. Their decisions not to kick those field goals and muffing the punt and some also really dumb penalties on several drives. That to me is what it is more than anything. Dampier is not that good at quarterback. I mean, that's where like define good, right? Like I still think Devin Dampier is a good quarterback. Is he a top 10 quarterback? Is he going to wind up in the Heisman voting? No, he's not going to. He needs to get better there. Muff punt hurts. Okay, we got to remove that comment. That's not very nice. 48-17. I don't know who said that. That's interesting. Bear had the will to win. Bear made some monster plays. You got to give that true freshman so much credit for battling in. How's he so strong, by the way? Like, come on. I know we've had our tackling issues all year, but bring the dang dude down. And we struggled to so many times. So I give him credit for that. Even if the refs giving you a window, you still couldn't get it done. Yep, that's no wait, Utah or BYU? Because I thought that BYU got way more calls. You talk about some of those pass interferences late. I thought those were legit. So I don't know what to talk about there. The downfield passing attacks, only goals to draw a foul. Basically, your hope JJ Buchanan makes an incredible catch, right? I mean, that's it. How about the catch that Dallin Bentley made and then the fumble that ended up in Merriweather's hands? Like, that was wild. Larry Simmons had a great catch too. But it's the problem. We're talking about isolated moments for these guys, not consistent offense. It's just really disappointing right now. It feels like this Utah team, like Utah is capable of beating a team like BYU, right? Like, they clearly, you play that game 10 times. It's not like BYU wins 10 times. Like, you can't tell me that based on how that went tonight. But it just hurts that you lost now to the two best teams you played. And even if Levitt plays, I think we beat Arizona State. Their defense was abysmal against us. So that was a bad matchup for them. So Utah still has a good win, but it just hurts you lose this game. But tough to win on the road too. So I'm not like ready to throw away the season and say this Utah team sucks when they have some very good wins on the year. Even the refs tried to save you guys. That is ironic for some of the other calls. The forward fumble play was funky. Yes, it was Ma Law. That was, Bentley able to make the grab. He started out chipping, right? And then he worked his way up downfield. And then he catches it, and then the ball gets forced out, and he somehow flipped it to Merriweather. That was absolutely wild. Dampier was faking another injury because Dampier did not fake another injury. Stop it, James. It's not a faked injury. The broadcasters literally said that he had his ankle taped up. Keep doubting us, JT. Look, I'll say I was wrong. Like, BYU, proved me wrong tonight. Do I think by the end of the year that will be a top 15 team? No, I don't personally, but I don't also know if I should be saying that right now. We just lost. So I will say, has BYU earned the right to be in the top 15? Absolutely. They got a gritty performance against one of their rivals. Give the Cougars all the credit in the world. And as of right now, they belong in the top 15. We'll see if they end there by the end. And I'm curious to see how they'll respond throughout the rest of this streak. But all the credit in the world for the Cougars to finding a way to win tonight. It was a sloppy game by both. At several times it was. And there are two good defenses out there too. We got outcoached and outplayed. I've said that absolutely too. There's a lot of BYU fans in here. iPatch, you are not right. I really feel like it came down to those two fourth down plays, two very evenly matched teams. It was Pizza Philosophy. It's a great name. It's just really unfortunate that Utah decide the 4th and 7 in particular, where you send your kicker out there and BYU calls a timeout, and then Whitt just sitting there we need a touchdown. We need a touchdown. Let's send him back out there. What are we doing, Kyle? You can't do that. That's so disappointing. And the 4th down play, once again, jet sweep or just motion. Bray gets it. He's running. Bamba comes all the way over and tackles him. It's still the play of the game to me. Completely flipped the game. If Utah scores a touchdown there, they probably kick field goals on some of those other drives. I really believe the play of the game was made on Utah's first drive of the game. Just crazy. Dampier's wind up on his deep ball is so awkward. It is a little bit. It's not a great throwing motion, and he's not a great quarterback. Let's see what else we got in here. Some of you guys in these comments. Let's see what else. Should have kicked your field goal. Yeah, we should have kicked it there. I agree with that too. I'm not reading that whole thing. Scripted, rigged. It wasn't rigged. Utah had so many opportunities to make plays and win, but they just didn't. Let's see if there's press conferences gotten going yet here. I've gotten some funny comments on socials. People also just feel defeated and deflated like me. It's just one thing, it's 2 years in a row against BYU too, right? Where there's so many opportunities to win this game and you don't, and you make the bad plays and you lose and it just hurts. No press conference comments yet. Let me know, guys, if you start to see those pile in. I'm going to keep an eye out I'm curious. I don't think Mark Harlan's going to walk in there and be like, it looks like they're starting to pour in. A couple of these are actually now. So we'll take a quick break from the press questions to talk about these. Dampier, we're not happy. We know what we're capable of. It hurts. Yep. And sums it up perfectly. So many misplays, so many miscues, so many missed blocks, missed throws, guys not getting open. This is a loss on everyone. You got outcoached, you got outplayed. It just hurts. Devin Dampier on the 4th down to red zone. We like that Whitt trusts us in those moments. We just didn't execute. A player is always going to want to go for it. That is why you have to have the coaches step in and say, nope, we need to do what's smart and makes more sense. And on 4th and 7 in particular, you kick the field goal. On 4th and 3 too, with the way your passing attack is, an offense like Utah, with the way their passing offense is on 4th and 3, absolutely kick the field goal. And those 2 field goals would have changed this game. Maybe BYU still wins it. They absolutely could have, but they changed this game. And coming up empty with points there and Bama's big stop early, has really hurt this Utah team so much, and still hurts me as I'm talking about it. Logan Fano on the impact of Lander's absence. He's a big part of our defense. It's on me. I didn't step up as the other captain. I need to step up as a leader. I thought Logan was good tonight. I thought Logan and Fano Logan Fano and John Henry Daly were really good. I missed tackles, as we talked about too, just a couple of those plays. There were times where linebackers got lost thinking of Bear, or the running back had it too. And then that was obviously really hurt when Lander was out, because there were a couple of big missed tackles by Demooney, and we already talked about some of the missed ones by Teo that just really sank Utah's ship in this one. Steve Bartle of KSL Sports providing these updates for us from the press conference. Whitt said, tough loss for our guys. Showed a lot of fight, did a lot of good things. Outrushed them, outthrew them, didn't outscore them. It's tough to do against a 6-0 team. We weren't our usual selves in the red zone. That's a funny comment, man. We weren't ourselves in the usual red zone. Yep, you still could have got. Oh my gosh, wait a minute. Okay, so this says, asked Whittingham about the goes on fourth down. The analytics said go for it. Why go against the analytics? Followed up by asking if they need to change in the game like this. No, why would it? I want to watch the press conference before I pass judgment. That sounds like old man is unwilling to admit he's wrong. The analytics really said go for it on 4th and 7. I don't always agree with analytics. I'll also just say that. That seems ridiculous to me. I'm sorry. Just with everything that was going on in the game in the first half on 4th and 7 with no. And once again, when you say analytics apply to all types of offense, not the offense that uses a sixth offensive lineman more than anyone else in the country because your passing offense isn't very good. I want to listen to that full comment, but that genuinely just makes me mad. The analytics said go for it, or just, and the way he said outrushed them, outdid these things, you got outcoached tonight. And I think it's not a problem to say that. Kenny Dillingham said that when he played you guys last week. The QB draw did a lot of damage on us. Yes, it did, Kyle. To me, that's an out of touch press conference, but I'll be interested to go back and read the rest of it here too. Great game. Time to give BYU their respect. Yeah, they earned it tonight. That is absolutely sure too. Beck is garbage too. I don't think Beck is garbage. He's done a lot of good things, but yeah, tonight was not his best game plan, and it hurt Utah several times too. Whitt's cursed. He won't beat Provo again until he says their name. That's funny. It'd be interesting to see. I will say this, there's a chance Kyle Whittingham comes back next year. That's clear, right? He's just not shut the door on retirement. He's the one who said he probably won't be here in 27. So that rules out the likelihood of him going back to Provo again. You can tell he really wanted this one and just didn't get it. Did not get it. Who would have thought Tech would be 6-1 and BYU undefeated going into this week? It's not crazy, right? Just because this was by far the toughest game that BYU had. I know we've tried to talk ourselves into Arizona being better than they are. I still don't think that Arizona team is very good. They got blown out by Iowa State. They lost to BYU and they lost to Houston. And I think BYU and Houston are pretty decent teams, but you also got to start winning those games if I want to say Arizona's good. What a joke. Yeah, applies to a lot of things. Both teams refused to kick field goals. Absolutely baffling. Yeah, I don't know why BYU didn't kick the one late and instead just threw it up. I thought that was bad. BYU is going to win the Big 12. I don't think so, but we shall see. Let's see what else we got. We should still be able to make it to the playoff. Now we're done. I mean, you literally have to go. The only way that Utah could get into the college football playoff is you go undefeated. BYU has some losses because I don't think Tech's going to have too many. So you really need BYU to still lose more. And then in the Big 12 title game, what you have happen is you'll either win or lose that game. And then somehow with your third loss coming in the conference title game, that's how you get in. It feels incredibly unlikely. I would be shocked if Utah gets into the college football playoff without winning the Big 12, which then making the Big 12 title game, they need a lot of help. We talked about earlier this week, Utah no longer controls their own destiny to make it to the Big 12 title game. They need both one of Tech or BYU to stumble a lot more. Given how ASU played today with Sam Levitt, legit argument that Utah hasn't beaten anyone legit this year. Law, that's fair, but at the same time, ASU's defense shut down Tech and we dominated them. When you beat a team, what was that, 40-10? When you beat them by 30, Levitt would have made a difference, but I still given Utah their flowers and credit there. 801 West Valley was too short to see him. I don't know what that's talking about. This will be such a glorious week sitting there undefeated. Say BYU is good, JT. Say it, John said. I said BYU is good. They clearly proved that tonight, right? That's the one thing. I've been lower on BYU. I've said several times, I don't even know if they're a top 25 team. They prove they are at least a top 25 team, on the season. I've said before. And right now, they absolutely deserve to be in the top 15. It's a skill to find ways to win, especially when the Utah Utes found a lot of ways to lose tonight, right? So that's where we got to give BYU all of their Flowers. Both teams agreed to make stupid decisions on fourth down. Yeah, they did a lot of times, Chandler. Fourth downs, 1 of 5, 1 for 3, Utah and BYU. Eesh. How about the stretch of Bamba got the good stop on Bray on the motion, and then LJ Martin ended up slipping on that crucial fourth down the next drive too. So just some bad fourth downs for both Y's. Let's see what else we got to. It was rigged. It wasn't rigged. That's funny. Rise and shout. Utah's irrelevant. That means that win is nothing. Like when you start to diminish your opponent to that degree, it means they don't even mean anything. I said Tech revealed Dampier in this group, the weak wide receiver group, and we knew the wide receiver group was weak even before Tech, right? Their limitations are obvious with his accuracy and abilities in the pocket, and BYU did the same. Dampier's pedestrian against a good defense. I think a lot of that's actually fair. Like Dampier is pedestrian might be fair against a good defense. We played well against ASU last week, but yeah, and clearly his ankle got banged up again to me. I'd be interested if we get Whitt to comment on that, but he wasn't running in the second half like he was in the first half. And yes, Utah fell behind, but still. Utah's DB's holding all night. Well, BYU was holding John Henry Daly all night, so it all works out that way. I'm going to try to skip around to some of these guys, especially if I've already answered one of your comments. Jared Nelson, both coaching staffs made poor decisions. That's the holy war. Yeah, they did. Both coaches did make poor decisions tonight, but Utah made more poor decisions, and it cost them. Hey, did BYU beat a good team yet? I think they did, Travis. I think this Utah team is pretty good. You look at what they've done. They've gotten some solid wins on the year. This is BYU by far their best win on the season, and credit them for finding a way to win in this rivalry. Teams that lose to BYU always say we beat ourselves. BYU didn't beat us. I mean, I just think it's clear that Utah did beat themselves at several times tonight, but give BYU once again credit for finding ways to win. We lose because our poor tackling, and lack of a deep threat. Both those are absolutely true, and the penalties hurt us. Like all of those are 1,000% true. You can't beat yourself with penalties. You need a well-rounded offense, and you got to be able to tackle more effective, and BYU broke out of some big tackles. Some of the stuff, like we said, like the Utah D tackles, the Utah wide receivers, like some of the weaknesses coming into the year we thought they could be, cost Utah. Both coaches made greedy decisions. And yeah, at times they definitely did. Sitake had this BYU team extremely well coached and buttoned up. For the most part, I thought BYU was. And as I said earlier, I feel like that BYU outcoached Utah this evening. Vincent Orr, there's a slim chance we could meet again for the Big 12 title game. Slim chance is right, because good luck getting Tech out of that. And I know they lost today, but let's also not forget. Hammond, the backup quarterback, was in, and that was part of the reason they lost. And also I'll say this about Hammond, because Hammond tore up Utah, right, and then didn't do it against ASU. He was an unknown. There was no film on him. And after the game against us, there was a lot more film on him. So now, JT, after 6 months of hyping up Dampier and crapping on Bear, who would you rather have leading your team, and a playmaker or an INT thrower? Well, first of all, what does Dampier have? 4 interceptions, and Bear has 3. So I don't think there's a huge difference there. And Bear nearly had a pick if it wasn't for the hold, which, Teo, why are you holding there? I'm still going to roll with Dampier, but Bear played better tonight. I'll say that. I like Dampier a lot. And let's continue to watch and see Bear against Texas Tech and some of these other games. Bear played really well tonight. Was a better quarterback tonight. I'll still ride with Dampier. We'll see how the true freshman continues to do, but he was good tonight. 5 games left on the schedule. Win them all, starting with Colorado. Utah could. Utah is the better team in all the games they have left, with the exception of maybe the Cincinnati one as of right now, right? But the Cincinnati one is at us. That's a big advantage. So we'll see. What Utah O-line, the O-line was still good. I mean, BYU doesn't respect the passing game at all, so they crowd the box a lot. Whitt has completely embarrassed their program with a pathetic coach. I don't feel like that's all the way true, but it was bad stuff. Muff penalties. Chris Morgan said, why are we cheeks? We're not cheeks. We've gotten some good teams, but yeah, we came up short against a good BYU team on the road. I'll say it, even though I'm down on BYU overall, still and have been a lot, you still lose a top 15 game on the road and Tech's a top 10 team. So Utah's only losses have come to top 15. What does that tell us? This Utah team's just not one of the 20 best teams in college football right now. Maybe they're not a top 25 team. They need to get better there. Utah should have cooked a field goal. Yep. Do you think Taylor Johnson's the reason we lost? I won't go that far. But he's definitely part of it. We get a lot of questions in here, guys. I appreciate it. O-line was not bad. Dampier had time most of the time. He could not see over the line to see his open receivers. That's the other thing. I feel like the receivers get a lot of crap. Guys, Devin misses guys and makes some bad plays too. Also, I don't always love Jason's schematics. So it's on everyone for some of the things that's going on here too. BYU is good, man. Still could end up with the same record at the end of the year. Absolutely could. Like BYU's got some really tough games coming up. That is not an undefeated team. Like we watched that BYU team tonight. Maybe they'll find ways to go undefeated. That's the Cougars do. They live and die by these crazy results, but I don't see undefeated team. Kalani should have kicked the field goal. Yes, he should have. Bad calls both ways. There were, Chandler, but I felt like there were more on Utah, honestly. And yeah, there were some on BYU for sure, but I felt like the refs were bad tonight, as I said. BYU's hard schedule is coming up. Got to give BYU the crowd credit. Yeah, the crowd was really impactful tonight. Great crowd, great atmosphere. I give them a ton of credit for how they battled in there too. Let's see what else got. A ton of missed calls on Utah. There were a couple. I thought there was more on. Like I said, I thought the refs made more calls that hurt Utah than that hurt BYU tonight. But as I've also continuously said, and will always say as long as I host this show, refs never cost you the game. It's always the players and the coaches more than anything. And Kyle Whittingham is the number one culprit, I believe, this evening. Gosh, it still hurts that Utah lost this game, man. So many opportunities to win this game and find ways, and they squandered it. And I'm very curious to go back and listen to Whitt's press conference, as I said earlier too, because based on the quotes that were taken, I just don't, that's not how I'd rather have the leader of my program handle things, by talking about some of the good things and uncharacteristic and defending, well, we should have gone for it. Like, no, you shouldn't have gone for it. Why can't you say like, hey, 4th and 7, that's not really smart to go for it there. 8-4 is great after last season. Vincent Orr said, I mean, it's a step up, right? And it feels very likely that Utah is still going to be, they're going to make a bowl game. I see Utah, right? I said 10-2 for Utah based on how this team looks right now. I'll probably go 9-3. Could very well be 8-4 though too. But they may have just played the two best teams on their schedule. I don't know about that for entirely sure with BYU, but very well could be the case. Whitt's decision to go for it twice on the forge cost us the game. Yes, they did. And once again, the Bomba play on that first drive was absolutely massive. Yeah, this is a good question from Juju Suarez 13. Something needs to happen up to for the school, or they will quickly become the little brother in Utah. I mean, we are the little brother right now, right? We've lost 3 in a row to them. They have a much better basketball program than us. They are ranked higher than us. They were better than us last year. At this moment, we're little brother. And I hate saying that. Trust me. They beat us 3 times in a row in back-to-back years. The only way we will not end up being little brothers if we figure it out, somehow get to a Big 12 title game and have a better year than BYU, but doesn't seem likely as of right now. And we'll see what ends up happening. Without any deep threat at all, just shortens the playing field on defense for any opponent, linebackers, safeties. Yep, absolutely true. There's so many plays where it's like, oh, everyone's blocked, but the safety comes flying in because they don't respect our passing attack. That happens frequently. Whitt wants knockouts, and it cost Utah the win. Love that, Bert Lewis. 1,000%. There were so many times Utah, touchdown. We need a touchdown here. Let's go for it here. Let's do this here. And it cost you. And field goals would have helped you out so much. Arizona was an away game in crazy rain, lots of turnovers. Yes, it was, Law. Utah is a respectable team, but not even at a top 10, maybe even top 15 top level. Well, yeah, clearly, like in the country, like obviously they're not a top 10 team, and clearly not a top 15 after tonight. That's an interesting comment. Let's see what else we got. Oh my gosh, David Webb he's mad about the holding, I guess. Has to cry every time. David Webb said, that's funny. Look, there were absolutely some misholding on John Henry Daly. Like I said, there, and you want to say there's misholdings both ways? There were some. Like the one that we got away with, it was a little bang bang. I was okay with the no call there, but I understand why BYU fans want to hold. But the penalty discrepancy was out of hand tonight. Utah was the more physical team in terms of like overly physical penalties, but there should have been way more calls. Number 99 was the cornerstone of our offense. Was that the biggest bright spot of the night, by the way? My guy, Tonga, I'm going to mess up his name, but Tongala, whatever it is, like he had 2 catches, the 10 yards, like he lost a ton on that one play, but when he juked the guy and then ran over Kelly, that was the highlight of the night, man. Those were good times, few and far between, unfortunately. Let's see what else we got to. I'm ready for Jay Hill to get a head coaching job so that our offense can score. Agree. Shout out Jay Hill. Jay Hill did a fantastic job of really limiting Utah this evening. And if I was a lot of teams, I understand they're looking at other coaches, other coordinators, other names. Jay Hill also did a fantastic job at Weaver State. I would look at Jay Hill for a head coaching job. I think he's really good. Also, the one thing I say, like obviously BYU drives me nuts. I have so much respect for the way Kalani Sitake is and how he runs his program. He is an outstanding head coach, and BYU is lucky to have him. Vincent Orr, best of Utah football, is still ahead. I feel like it definitely could be. I think it absolutely could be too. Bach said, your takes are bad. Then why are you here? That's my answer. Like, why are you here? It might take some bad. Oh, let's see what else we got. Now Sitake laid in a ton of us earlier this year for targeting, much more class than Whitt. I don't agree with more class than, I'll say that. The bear hurdle was nice. The bear hurdle was very nice early on. I can give him his flowers for that too. Let's keep going here. Our secondary defensive scheme was nuts. I don't know. We made a lot of, I don't know which one you're talking about for that too. A lot of comments here. We're doing our best to get here. Oh, some of you guys have some funny thing. JT, how many sacks has Utah given up all year and tonight? Who has the best O-line? Utah's O-line was still clearly better than BYU's to me tonight. And how many sacks, like, first of all, how many sacks of those are actually on the offensive line? And how many of those? So BYU had 3 sacks. Utah had 2. How many of those sacks were Devin Dampier holding onto the ball forever? You can't just look at a sack and go like, oh, it's on the offensive line. They got beat. Like a lot of times it's, oh my gosh, Devin Dampier is all day in the pocket and he's still holding on to it. And then he gets sacked. That happened several times. So to me, that's different set of scenarios. We were never the better team on the field. What are you talking about, JT? I mean, Chase, when we were moving the ball up and down on them early on, it felt like it. And then we had 3 red zone trips that yielded no points early. When you have the missed field goal, no, my bad. No missed field goal because we didn't kick a field goal. The 4th down stop, 4th and 1 early, and then not taking the 2 field goals. So much pain. All right, keeping it rolling here with more questions. Appreciate all of you hanging out with us this evening on Locked On Utes, just letting it all out. We got 2 conference losses in our second Pac-12 title. It's an outside chance, but still possible. We did. So, yeah, like I said, Utah's to win out, and BYU is going to have to lose a couple games because they now own the tiebreaker, and obviously Tech does too, but not out of the question at all. Y'all are a letdown big time. I mean, you beat us by 3 points. Like, there was a disappointing performance from Utah. David Sims, that's a funny comment. I'm not reading that one though. Why would we want to go to the playoffs anyways? We would lose by 20 to a playoff team. I disagree with that. You get a right matchup. You're physical enough to. Here we go. Jess Barr. 2 obvious missed holds / pass interference calls where BYU would have gotten into the red zone and one would have likely been a touchdown. BYU should have won by a larger margin. I don't feel that way. I mean, yes, like if you want to say like they late touchdown drive, all that, sure. Like BYU wins by 10, that's fine. But Utah, all the red zone drives that they failed to. And you talk about BYU getting touchdowns. Touchdowns were far from foregone conclusions in this game. How many drives do we see things not work out or teams stall? Quite frequently. So I'm not saying anything was an automatic touchdown. I've just been talking about points the whole time here too. See what else we got here. Holy cow, there were bad calls both ways. You cannot use that. Monty said, yes, there were bad calls both ways. But like I said, it's the lack of calls against BYU that was frustrating. The lack of holding on John Henry Daly and several other situations. One of the late first downs he got, Robert Griffin III, is like praising the wide receiver blocking. But then he also says, oh, wait, that's a hold right there. There were lots of holds that were not called on BYU tonight. And Utah could have had some more penalties too. I'm not saying they couldn't have. But like I said, the refs really hurt Utah several times tonight, I feel like, too. Once again, not the reason someone said, JT, you're sounding like Mark Harlan. That's funny, Tom. I'll give you that one. Made me laugh. Acknowledge 2 PIs at the end of the game were wrong. No, those were PIs. He literally grabbed them. And even the one in the end zone on Merriweather, right? If you want to say it's not a PI, I get it a little bit, but he never turned his head around. So turn your head around. It's probably not a PI. You have to turn your head back, or else if you're grabbing him, you're going to get called, especially live bang, bang. That's always going to get called. What about the refs didn't call that penalty when BYU threw down Parker and got no penalty? Exactly, Isaac. Like that should have been. It absolutely should have been a penalty. It didn't end up making a huge difference overall, but still absolutely could have been. Gosh, we got a lot of questions to get through, guys. I'm trying to sift through these as quickly as I can. Sad to watch our teams really progress while Whit continues to constantly regress with Utes with his coaching malpractice. I don't feel like it's always Whit regressing them, but tonight it was. The BYU game is where we saw like old Kyle Whittingham, who's always going to be stubborn and run the ball and do things this way and go. And we need to go for it here. We got to get points. Like that's, or not points, just touchdowns when we shouldn't. That's what cost Utah tonight. Much love, JT, Cougar fan. Love watching you and Jake get it. Utah is making moves with the runs to the sideline. Does Utah keep building off that? They're going to try to. I still think this Utah team's a good team. I still think, and a good team, by the way, there's good teams that go 8-4. It's still a good year, and Utah could very likely go 8-4. I don't see Utah going 7-5. So yeah, it's disappointing how we got to this point, but I do think there's a lot of things that Utah can continue to build off of. And that was a loss to your rival on the road in a hostile environment. It's not like the sky is falling for Utah. It's just disappointing about how you lost this game. I can't say enough about the job Sitake has done and continues to do. He is amazing. Thank you for that. Someone commented something nice. Not really. It's like both teams agreed not to kick field goals. Yes, it was weird. Although BYU didn't decide to do it till late in the game. I did say BYU BS. I gave BYU tons of credit just because I'm also saying that Utah lost the game at several turns and made dumb decisions, and I thought there were bad penalties. That's part of it. But the number one blame goes on Kyle Whittingham. I said that at the start of the show, people. Kyle Whittingham deserves the blame for this loss, and so do several players and coaches for mistakes, muff punts, all of that before we get to calls. But calls can still also be part of it. Sam Levitt is the best QB in the Big 12. I don't know if I'll go that far. He's had some rough moments, but I mean, honestly, maybe it's Baron Morton too. And Sawyer Robertson's not bad, even though they lost today. Hoover found a way to win. So lots of options to go with here. Utah had 20 plus missed tackles. That's a recipe for disaster. I don't know if it was that high, but it was definitely a lot. I'll say a lot. Someone said, was this game stolen from you? Of course it wasn't stolen because we lost it. In a lot of ways, Utah gave it away by going for it on 4th and 7, by going for it on 4th and 3, rather than taking points, getting field goals, which would have changed this game. And even early on, even though I like the call to Bray, looking back on it, hindsight's 2020, right? What should Utah have absolutely done? They should have ran the ball on the inside with Devin Dampier. 4th and 1, Dampier quarterback run, and Dampier already took enough of a beating, but that's another thing. Dampier genuinely got wore down tonight, which really hurts this Utah team that he continues to get wore down like he does. What was it else? I really enjoy watching this podcast since Utah lost. Yeah, I figure a lot of you will. I will define it. Dampier cannot throw it long. He's too small in the pocket. Looks like he can't see the open guys down the field. He also looked like he may have re-injured his ankle. I agree with both of those things. I think that there's obviously times where Dampier made impressive throws over in the middle of the field, but far too many times where he also misses his guys and made some rough plays too. Texas Tech needed to win to help the conference. Would have been nice if they could have won out, but they did not. Conference won't give credit because of knocking everyone off. I don't even know what that means. Everyone will still say BYU has no chance against Tech. I will never say that BYU has no chance. I think Tech's going to win that game. I do think Tech bounces back and wins that game, but I will give BYU credit and absolutely say this is a team that is more than capable of winning that game. Malaw said, props to JT for jumping on right away. Going live is not an easy deal. Sometimes it helps to just let and vent the emotions out. I've found too. Jay Armstrong said, hope to see you guys again soon. I'd love that. It's going to be a lot. It's going to take a lot for us to get there. Is BYU win over Utah better than Utah's win over ASU? I don't think so. Over Utah better than ASU. I think BYU's win tonight was more impressive, especially because Utah beat ASU and, in your place rivalry game. I was very impressed with BYU tonight. Give them credit for finding ways to win. There goes Utah recruiting for the next 3 to 4 years, losing for life. I don't agree with it that drastically, but like when you say they're recruiting, but does it hurt your recruiting? Oh yeah, this absolutely hurt recruiting tonight. And it's just another example, like you're already losing the NIL battle. That very interesting story dropped earlier today. We'll have to talk about that more later too. Now you're not beating them on the field. It hurts. It hurts a lot. Let's see what else we got. Mark Harlan just put the paperwork to move back to the Pac-12. Oh, that's funny on that too. Do you think we're going to win and go to the Chase Holden said, JT, what's our outlook on the season? 8 wins, 7 wins. I think I said 6 wins or 7 wins for BYU going into the year. I'll say I was wrong on that. And BYU is going to have a chance to win 9 games. So I'll be wrong there. I do not see BYU as a playoff team. I'll say that right now. They need to continue to get better. If you are a top 15 team and Utah plays the way they did tonight, you should have won by even more, in my opinion, if you are a playoff caliber team. Let's not forget what playoff caliber team means, the best of the best. I don't think BYU is that, but BYU is clearly better tonight, and they are better than Utah right now. So give them their credit for that too. It's a tough one. I think Utah consistently made better plays on both sides of the field, but just couldn't make the moments count. I think that's true in a lot of ways. Like I said, Utah had more yards, so obviously they made a lot of plays, and they limited BYU in some key stretches and spots. But you muff a punt. You commit some dumb penalties. You don't kick field goals in key spots. Not good. I wonder if Whittingham will have anything to say about Bear now. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know if he did. I'm sure he must have, though. 6'7". I can't believe someone got me to say that on the show. I don't know what that means, but maybe it applies here. I like that one. Bert Lewis here. Let's see what else we go. Because Simmons missed the block. Someone said on the Bamba tackle. He did miss the block. It was unfortunate. I don't know for sure. By the way, I will say, I don't know live if Larry Simmons is when you draw that on the chalkboard, I don't know if Larry Simmons is supposed to seek him out and block him, right? Because that's kind of crazy. Where they get up, drawing it up on a chalkboard to say, hey, if they go in man, and maybe this is, let's like also just be real, this is a lot. The Braves man is going to chase him all the way back over to the field, and then Larry Simmons, you're going to have to find him. That's hard to find and block a guy moving at that speed. I wish Larry did block him. I think it's fair to say he should have blocked him, but I can also say it was a very tough block to make. Gnashing teeth. Y'all did really well last minute. I genuinely thought by all we were going to make us pay at the end. Glad we won, but serious grit from the U. Yes, it was. Oh my gosh. Could you imagine if Utah got that onside kick? That would have been something else. But unfortunately, they did not. And we sit here in a loss. Roan Sherrington. I, for one, am ready for Morgan Scally to take over. It just doesn't matter who's in and out. They're always great on defense, and the exact opposite is true on offense. In some ways, I actually do agree with that. In some ways, I am ready for Morgan to take over because I don't know if Morgan makes those decisions tonight to go for it in those spots. Analytics say yes. Stop. Like it just 4th and 7 is 4th and 7. How in the world did the analytics say to go for it on 4th and 7? That's crazy to me. That's where I just think just listening to analytics blindly and saying like, oh, it said to go for it. Like, let's just do that. Like, that's just not smart to me. Like, know your team, know what you're doing, the momentum, what's going to happen if you don't get it on 4th and 7, because it's more likely you're not going to convert on a 4th and 7. I don't know how the analytics were in Utah's favor there. But I think Morgan will make better decisions in those spots and want to kick a field goal. So that's where in some ways it will be good when Morgan takes over. Whitt's bad decision to go for it twice on 4th down is a huge reason we lost. Yep. Whitt never seems to learn from repeating this time and time again every season. I think Whitt made similar mistakes last year. Don't have the ability to look it up, but it felt like that. He also made some really bad decisions in some key spots too. Pizza philosophy. This was a close game. Easily could have gone either way. As a BYU fan with the history of this rivalry, I totally thought Utah was going to recover that onside kick and force overtime. Wish they would have, obviously. I very much so wish they would have. Let's keep it rolling here. BYU play calling, not good either. Kick that field goal, go up 13. But I mean, Aaron Roderick had some nice moments, I will say. I thought BYU won the coaching battle overall. If we want to say Morgan Scally outcoached Roderick, I think that's fair. That's more of a wash to me because I thought Roderick made some nice plays. But because even on that, the 3rd and 10 QB draw they ran, what happened? Morgan Scally did send both his linebackers to blitz, so it left Utah more vulnerable. Now he's counting on Teo Johnson to make a tackle that he couldn't. I think his defense would be a lot better with Rabbit Evans, by the way. And Jackson Benny's made some nice plays, but I'm excited to get Rabbit back next year. He's a surefire tackler. White Microwave. As a BYU fan, the Utah offense looked really good. They just needed to try kicking some field goals instead of going for it on 4th down. Even with that, we wouldn't have won with the 2 turnovers. Yep, that's very fair. Stephen Palomez said, JT, I appreciate you being a real one. Thank you. BYU just beat the 2025 Big 12 champs and the Heisman Trophy winner and the best offensive line in college football. Obviously, none of those things are true, but that's fair there. Yeah, baby, 7-0 is not crazy. They found a way. Give BYU credit for that. I really wish we had Singer back for this year. Ryan Davis and Singer would have been elite. I agree with that, Derek. This is a game where it would have been really nice to have wide receiver 1 be a guy like and get, if you have any questions, get your few more in. I'm going to be trying to just answer the ones I haven't gotten to yet, and we'll be wrapping this up here in the next few minutes. But I think Singer would help tonight. I do agree with that. People don't realize how difficult it is even for a great coach to turn a team back around to winning after a season like Utah had last year. I think that's fair, Ed, but Utah already has been winning. They got ranked, and they made some really bad calls and decisions tonight. Why does Utah always fall short every season? It's hard to be a Utah fan. It's hard to be a Utah fan right now. Let's not forget Utah did just win some Pac-12 titles a couple years ago. But yeah, obviously in this moment, it hurts in the Big 12 to come up short against BYU. It absolutely stings, and we got to take it this week. Let's see. Sun Devils will go back to championship, and you guys will be so loud about it. That'd be impressive if they were able to. Yeah, 2 turnovers and 0 turnovers. How about 0 turnovers from BYU tonight? Very impressive with them outside of on downs a couple times. But that was it. Give them a lot of credit for that. Jack Kelly made the game. No Jack Kelly, no win. I agree with that. I agree with that too. Jack Kelly made several plays tonight that really hurt this Utah team. He was all over the field in coverage and the run game. He was a monster. Kragers said, is BYU still fraudulent? JT been saying that all year. I said BYU's overrated. Do I still think they're I said BYU is not a top 15 team. I don't think they will end as a top 15 team, But I will say right now, they have earned every right to be there, and they proved me wrong going into this game. I can say that. They found a way to win, and I give them credit for that. Bear, LJ Martin, that run game, got a legit wide receiver. I like Carson Ryan too, and that defense flew around and made some plays. So give them credit as well too. BYU is not fraudulent. I just don't think I don't think they're a top 15 team in college football, but they are clearly a top 25 team, and they are right now. If you want to say the best team in the Big 12, I would say no, but I will say they are the last team remaining undefeated, so you can also make that argument there. I still think Tech's better at fully healthy with their starting quarterback too. I thought Beck also tried to do too much on the second half with some of his calls. I agree. I don't know what some of the trick plays and some of the other crap was, and yeah, not a good game for him there. Continuing to roll through here and get through some of our comments. Maybe time for Utah to think about moving back to the Pac-12. Y'all are funny. BYU fan here, nothing but respect for Utah. Nothing but respect for you guys tonight. It was a hard-fought game. I know how hard it is to have my team lose a close game multiple times in a row. Genuinely wishing you guys all the luck. We appreciate it. Going to need it with how they looked a couple times tonight. I'm thinking we move on from Coach Whitt sooner, get some of that church money they have. That's funny. Yeah, obviously Utah's going to have a decision to make eventually if this stuff like this continues. 2 losses in conference, Utes are done. Maybe, not completely though. They found a way to, back in 22, they lost 2 conference games, still found themselves in the conference title game. Likely Utah makes it? No. Could they still? Absolutely. Arizona State lost 2 games last year too. So all of that is true. Bear had quite a few really good downfield throws this year. That touchdown to Chase tonight was sweet. Yes, it was. Great throw there. And Elijah Davis just didn't get his head around in time, but awesome play. Awesome catch that time. To my fellow Cougar fans, it's been a good sport, requires being kind in victory and defeat. Let's not be jerks about winning. Yeah, it's going to be some jerks. It's going to be always is both. Whenever either side wins, there's going to be some jerks either side, right? Always you excuses of bad calls. I don't really blame the refs. Like I said, do the refs deserve some blame? Yes, but I gave a lot of blame other places before I got to refs. JT will get them next year. I hope so, Matthew. Oh man, do I hope so. Let's hear JT, respect in all seriousness. Good team. Appreciate you guys. I do think Utah's still a good team, and BYU is clearly a very good team. JT is a BYU fan. Love your show. Good game and grateful for the win, but could have gone to Utah as well. Totally agree, David. You watch this game, like David makes a great point. Like there's a world, absolutely, this game's played 10 times. Utah could absolutely find a way to win this game. Credit BYU for finding a way to win this game. They made plays, but anytime you get outgained, you're in danger of suffering a loss. And this game is obviously very close. Let's see what else we got too. Serious question. Why doesn't Utah run the 7 lineman play more? We only stopped that drive once Utah went away from it. I feel like they did run it other times too. Utah's run game, they just weren't getting the push they needed inside. I will say the Utah offensive line as a whole played very well. This is the type of game where Jaron Kump I didn't think was elite tonight. I thought he had some rough moments and was part of the reason that Utah's run game didn't get going as well. But the offensive line was not outstanding overall. They made some bad plays. And everyone gets some crap when you have a bad performance like this. What did you think of BYU's D-line? I thought they were impressive. I thought the linebackers especially, they stepped up. Utah had some opportunities to get some runs going. How about the sweep to Bray was epic, but give the Cougars credit. Their D-line stood up. Utah's offensive line allowed little to no push a lot. There wasn't a ton of pressure on Dampier for a lot of the game, although they did get some in some key spots. But give BYU a lot of credit for getting home at some times and moments too. I thought as a BYU fan, y'all did very well. It was a great game. It'll be interesting to see how both programs finish the season and go forward. Totally agree with that. Really back and forth game, type of game where either team could have won. BYU was coached better. They played better and they made less mistakes. And in a game like this against 2 good teams and you make less mistakes, you're likely to win even when you get outgained. On the targeting call play on Bear, why did the defender that almost sacked Bear let go in the rewatch? I know. I have no idea, Pat, why Teo didn't finish it. That's what's so maddening. If Teo finishes that play, it's not targeting. Like BYU still could have drove in and scored, but you get a sack there and Lander's still in the game and maybe things were different. But I guess we'll never know, as that one line always is. Jay Hill needs to come home, the eye patch said. We got Morgan Scally, and he's going to stay as a DC. I don't think Hill's going anywhere unless it's for a head coaching job. Tyler Kelsey, aggravating to go 3 years now and not be able to throw the ball. It is really frustrating. It's really frustrating to watch how Utah lost this game. The lack of a downfield passing attack still be a problem when you needed it most. The bad penalties, like 12 men on the field, right, or late in the game. You don't stop them in some key spots. The missed tackles, all these things rearing their heads absolutely hurt this Utah team. Trying to see if we got any last ones we want to throw in here. We need a passing offense that can actually score points. Would help. Why was there no post game by Whitt? It looks like there was. We read a couple of those comments earlier. Nah, dude, keep crying. Thanks, Trenton. Let's see what else we got too. Well, it's a loss, JT. Whittingham is now a 3-game skid versus the team down south. Indeed, he is. And we'll see if he coaches against them next year. We shall see. Still trying to look at the rest of it here too. Utah offense sucks, Mitchell said. Yeah, they did. They were bad. Anyone think Morgan won't just be another Whitt? I don't think he will be. I think he'll be more modern, do his own things, make his own calls too. Shout out Mountaineer Paul. Mountaineer Paul got a shout in here. JT can't admit it though. I don't know what I haven't admitted. I feel like I've admitted a lot of things throughout the duration of this too. I think the 2 turnovers won BYU the game. Definitely helped out a lot. Utah downfield shot really hurt this Utah team a lot. Utah not done, but they are in a really rough spot. Should have taken some points and some field goals. The 4th down early was the play of the game. Analytics say go for it for 4th and 7 when your kicker shanks the practice kicks. I guess if you had a bad week of practice, that's where it's fair. Roman Coast is okay. That's cause you don't understand. Whitt knew he had the refs in the back of his pocket. Give me a break. What are you talking? I don't even know what that means. Obviously, Utah did not have the back refs in the back of their pockets. They lost the dang game. BYU always develops QBs better. I don't know if that's always true, but obviously give Bear credit. He balled out tonight. And let's see what I got here. Chirping in the stands for the Utes fans, and I loved it. They gave it all. He gave it all as good as they were. Also, the state of Utah, big winter day, big noon atmosphere was epic. Seeing those 2 fan bases go back and forth. Hopefully game day will come in the future, but grateful that Big Noon decided that they wanted to be a part of it. Whoever wanted to go for it on 4th down needs to be held accountable. That's the head coach's call. So I've said hold Kyle Whittingham accountable there. Let's see what else we got here. Not mad. I'm just wrapping this one up. Appreciate all of you guys for hopping on here. We were in the red zone, so we should take it. The points. Yes, we should have. We said that too. At the end of the day, guys, as we wrap this up, Utah should have kicked those field goals early on. The 4th and 1, I'm fine with going for that one early. 0-0 game, and you almost had it. It was a great play by Bomba on the tackle. The play of the game, I will continue to say. 4th and 7 is indefensible. I believe it's one of the worst decisions Kyle Whittingham has made as the head coach of Utah, is not kicking that on 4th and 7. The 4th and 3 absolutely should have gone for it based on how your team was performing on 4th down and the fact that you needed some points. Bad tackling, dumb penalties, muff punts, brutal, and the refs having some rough calls and also never really acknowledging that John Henry Daly was getting helped. All of that, with once again, the loss more than anything to me going on Kyle Whittingham for some of his decisions, led to the Utah Utes falling in this game, led to the Utah Utes more than likely missing the college football playoff, led to the Utah Utes losing to BYU for a 3rd consecutive time and now suffering 2 Big 12 losses, which are absolutely devastating. Twiddles, BYU fan, is this game where you start to question if Whitt should be let go? He's not going to be let go. I mean, we're 5-2. We're not letting him go. But yeah, obviously there's going to be some blame there for what happened. iPatch said last thing, Whittingham makes the calls. It's on him. I agree. It's on him. And it's a disappointing performance and outcome for the Utah Utes, but I appreciate all of you tuning in to talk about it with me. That's going to do it for this live edition of Locked On Utes. I'm somehow going to try to sleep tonight, not stay up all night thinking about all the missed chances and opportunities that the Utah Utes had. I hope all of you are able to get a sleep somehow. I'm sure the Cougar fans of you that decided to join us in the comments will definitely be sleeping soundly this evening. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this live Locked On Utes post game. Always a blast talking with you guys after these games, even though we're down. Even though we're devastated, I will. That's a funny comment, man. Even though I'm down, you are funny. Even though I'm down, even though I'm devastated, I'll still be back on Monday talking about this game. I'll still be back next week. And I appreciate, y'all are funny in the comments. I appreciate all of you for tuning in. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Utes. We'll be back this week talking about the game. The Utah Utes lose. I'm devastated. I might go bald after that one. All righty. See you guys. Have a good night.